I think I alluded to this earlier in the week, but I think you're dealing with a little bit. I think every team's dealing with a little bit kind of the lag effect of a tough fall camp for us, an emotional first game. Love the way this team responded in week 2 and the performance they put together. I think that's reflective of a team that cares a lot about what we're doing and who we are. And then this week, I felt like the mentality has lagged a little bit. The physical work's been great, but I can sense the fatigue setting in. So the challenge to them is to understand what they're feeling, to isolate the choices and the work that needs to be done. I think from this point forward, it's more mental than it is physical. So 48 hours to kind of get our legs back and get to feeling really good. I loved the practice that we had today. I thought they really responded to that message, and I'm excited to take this team on the road. We'll have a tough challenge awaiting us. Some of that's going to be the weather. Obviously we're planning for that, and we're going to play a tough opponent too, like I've talked about. So it's the fun part is you get to the travel and to the game, and they'll be excited to go.
How do you account for the weather?
Well, some of it is, you don't let the circumstances impact the training that you've had. Some of it is we're going to need to snap the wet ball and handle the wet ball some, and we'll do that. But part of handling the weather is understanding that ultimately it still comes down to each person owning their responsibility, doing their job, and winning their one-on-one. And don't let it become bigger than it is. Does it have an impact on the game? Yes. Does it impact the way we run the ball? No. We got to make sure we're good on the snap, we're good on the exchange, and use it to our advantage.
So I guess, in the option game, I guess like maybe pitching a slippery ball is a little bit more difficult. Like how big of an emphasis has that been for you guys, especially since there have been 2 or 3 fumbles already?
Yeah, for sure. We have to be ball secure, and it's just the handling of the ball, and we'll see how slick it becomes and how wet it is. I think there's a lot that can happen from now to then, but the process of handling that we need to do in training before we get to Saturday, and we will. And it doesn't mean that you eliminate the option game, just like you don't eliminate the pass game. It's just being smart with when and how, making sure that we look it in and tuck it away. Those are the things, and it's really not deviating from the fundamentals we teach. It's just you can't afford to have a lapse in focus in those moments.
Their running backs can obviously do some things that make some guys miss. How much do you feel that you'll learn about your tackling Saturday?
I think we've learned a good bit about our tackling in the first 2 weeks. I think to down these guys at a level that we feel good about, it's going to take more than one person at the point of attack. So it's how we suffocate the ball. But we'll be tested week in, week out. I think we've tackled at times really effectively. I think in the Virginia Tech game there were some that I'd want back just in terms of bouncing off or not running our feet, or I think as drives extend. So tackling fundamentals are something we work every week, and we'll need to obviously execute those, but also suffocate the ball. We got to get a lot of people to the ball to keep from allowing the yards after contact that really makes this offense click.
Do you think Cordrea Tankersley is going to be able to play?
I don't. I think he's close, and I think he probably could. But we're going to be conservative with him just because this is a marathon, not a sprint. And he's been out and he's moved around. He hasn't practiced yet, and that's an important kind of indicator. But I think he's progressing way ahead of where we saw him. And so we just got to keep him there, and we got to listen to what his body's telling him too. But it would be probably reckless on our end to throw him out there this weekend. So we'll take him on the trip, but I don't expect him to play.
I guess being inside today reminded me there's supposed to be a new football indoor practice field. Do you know what the status of that is?
I don't. I think everything in college athletics right now is in flux. It's just like one constant unknown, and so I think we had a meeting yesterday as head coaches with Candice and her team just about general updates on Vandy United, and she and I are going to continue to have conversations around, kind of shaping the future of this program with respect to facilities. Because I've said it before, we can't stop at the stadium. I mean, in a lot of ways, the stadium, first of all, is fantastic, and I can't wait till that south end's done and you really get a feel, and I think our fans will really appreciate that. I think the north end's already enhanced the environment. I think the scoreboard, the sound, the way the sound is captured, all those things exciting. The reality of those two buildings, though, is there's kind of like ultimately a few thousand square feet of space that's dedicated to our team, and our team will use 7 days out of the year, and so there's a need to continue to push because the footprint we're in that we've been in since 1990, and that's just a matter of me and Candice working on what that looks like, how it feels. Obviously, the indoor becomes an important part because of efficiency, and I do think that you can look at this differently maybe than we did 3 years ago when we started this journey, which is like, it's not as important to land a spaceship on your campus because that actually isn't what recruiting's about anymore. Recruiting's become about NIL, so let's be really smart with how we're channeling those resources to our team. But also, what the building is a sign of, hey, this is important. It's also where we live, basically, so having dedicated spaces for our players to interact in a locker room where there's open space and there's the ability to be together in one room rather than kind of siloed off the way it's set up now. And then like a player lounge, these guys spend so much time in the building, have a place where they can hang out, take a nap, that kind of stuff. The rest of it to me just becomes efficiency of operation. So how efficient can we be training our team in a weight room that allows us to get everybody in there? How efficient can we be going from meetings to the practice field, locker room to meetings, practice field, training room? And it's not necessarily about how and the indoors part of it, right? That we don't walk, whatever it is, 200 yards, 300 yards, that it's right there. So you can go from meetings to walkthrough on a fall camp day and be in the space where you're gonna stretch, and then right outside to practice, right back inside. There's an efficiency of operation there that optimizes the training of the team. That's important. So those are things it's probably more than you asked for. Those are things we're gonna work together on. And again, I'm excited for that. And I think that next step, that next build is gonna be a real statement for where this thing's headed.
You mentioned Saturday, or Virginia Tech game actually, about Candice in the presser. That was like your opening thing. What is your relationship like with her, and how often are you meeting with her about things along those lines?
We are, I think, as close as two humans can be that are working together in something as hard as we're doing, and I say that just to say, like, there's a real personal connection because we're both of this place. She hired me to do a hard job. She supported me through the ups and the downs and has had my back. We built strength and bond through adversity. Never has there ever been a moment where we haven't had really open lines of communication and an ability to be very honest. I've felt totally supported at every turn. And I don't know that everyone, I can't speak for everyone in a head coaching role in the Power 5, but it's rare to find someone, honestly, with the toughness that Candice displays in her role. And because of that toughness, she's helped mentor me through some of the challenging things that we've been through. I think she had a way better perspective on the starting point of this program than I did, when I first got here. And then she's allowed for me to push too, which I think is really important because this isn't about doing the best that Vanderbilt can do. This is about pushing a program to the highest level. And we're somewhere in the middle of that journey right now. But we have to continue to push this thing forward, how we resource it, how we staff it, the NIL piece, all those things coming together. Those are issues that if we're not collaborating, they don't get done. And so, she's a friend, she's a boss, she's a mentor, and we've grown really close through this time.
What do you mean when you say toughness with Candice? I'm just curious.
I think like, you know, and we sign up for these positions, so it's not like no one here is victimized by anything external. I mean, we this is what we do, but this is also incredibly personal to us, and specifically to me and Candice, because like we believe in Vanderbilt and we believe what we can get done here, and so I think, you know, when you look at the journey, you know, and you, if you can put yourself in her position at any point, you realize, man, there are so many challenging things that she's had to step in and keep her, you know, guard up and set her jaw and continue just to plot a course forward. And never once has she deviated from this vision she has for what this can be. It doesn't mean that there aren't course corrections along the way. And those course corrections require someone who has the perspective to say, okay, this is working well, maybe this isn't working as well. You know, what are we going to do to get through to the back end on this? To me, that's all wrapped up in toughness. And so it's the ability to ignore the noise, to never let go of the dream, to, in the moments where the ship's rocking, the waves are crashing, they say, hold fast, stay true. And that is a difficult thing as a human to do, and I admire the way she models that perfectly. That's what I mean.
Okay. With the build, it feels like Brian Longwell is kind of a microcosm of the guys you're trying to get, like under-recruited local guys. Just how much has he meant to you, and like seeing the chip on his shoulder from being an under-recruited guy?
Yeah, I mean, he believes in himself, and he has confidence, and he's a good football player, and I relate a lot to that mindset, that mentality. And he was the guy we added late, you know, to our class, and it wasn't because we had questions about him as a player. It was more about, you know, it was a numbers game. You know, where are we going to add a linebacker? Or are we not? Well, I'm really glad we did. You know, so him being local, I mean, his family's fantastic. It's just he's a cool story and a very valued member of our team.
All set.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.